everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Today I'm going to be doing the comfort reading tag. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name's Alice and I have way too many books, and I also have a very naughty cat here by my side who is trying to swipe me every time I touch my computer, which is really helpful. So anyway, today I'm going to be doing the comfort reading tag, which I was tagged in a little while back by Nikki at Red.Reads. I highly recommend Nikki's channel and I will link it in the description box down below. She makes lovely videos all about books and also some vlogs showing the sights of Singapore where she lives. So if you'd like to check out content like that, please do go and check out Nikki. And this tag was originally created by The Babbling Bee, and I will link their original tag video down below. In this tag, all of the questions are about comforting reads, and I found it quite tricky to pick which book would go with which tag. And also, if you know me at all as yet, you'll know that I don't read many books that most people would consider to be comforting. I read quite a lot of crime and thrillers, and also a lot of post-apocalyptic type fiction. But I must say, and I've always said to people, I know I'm a bit strange, but I actually find dystopia and post-apocalyptic fiction quite comforting, because I suppose it makes me appreciate what I have, and that makes me feel better about things. I can't explain it, it's very strange. Anyway, there are I think 10 questions today, and let's get straight into them. So question 1 is The Kettle's On. A book of steadfast comfort, always there for you, makes any day better like a cup of tea. So I've made my cup of tea ready for this prompt. I did struggle to think what I could say for this prompt that I'm not going to say later for other prompts. So I'm going to say in this one that I'm going to choose some children's books that always make me feel happier no matter how many times I read them. It's mainly children's books that I've read over and over again, and they are so comforting and can cheer you up so much. So 2 of my very, very favourites are Each Peach Pear Plum by Janet and Alan Allberg, which was the very first book that I can remember in my life, and I still know this book off by heart. It's such a wonderful book. If you have children who read picture books, I would urge you to get this book and read with your child. It's fantastic. If you don't have children to read this with, I would still recommend it. And also for this prompt, I'm going to recommend another children's picture book, Mog the Forgetful Cat, which just makes me laugh every single time and cheers me up no matter what, like a cup of tea. Highly recommend those 2. They are fantastic children's picture books. Question number 2 is Grandmother's Quilt. And just for a little bit of extra comfort, I did bring my granny square blanket to warm me up and to be extra comforting. So Grandmother's Quilt is a book that reminds you of a loved one, or a comforting book that was given to you or read aloud to you by someone dear. This is going to be a bit of a strange choice. There are so many books that have been read aloud to me by my mum over the years, and I've loved each and every single one of them. But this one is a book that reminds me both of my mum and my brother, and that is because whenever my brother used to be ill in bed, which was rarely, and I was the sickly child of the family, so whenever my brother was ill, he used to want my mum to read to him The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The actual book that it was from is not this book. My mum has the edition, and I'll try and put it up on screen, which is all of the short stories of Sherlock Holmes. I'm pretty sure all of the titles that were read to him were in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and I used to sit and listen as well. And so this reminds me of comforting times, of being comforted when people are not well. And I've even read one of these stories to my husband when he wasn't feeling very well. Some of the best stories that my mum read to us from this one are The Red-Headed League, The Man with the Twisted Lip, The Speckled Band is probably my top favourite of all. So you may think not a very comforting read, but I certainly I have really fond memories of this being read to me and my brother. Question number 3 is Warm Spices, a book with particularly vivid prose or imagery, a story comforting in its richness, depth or vibrance. And because it's Victober, I'm actually going to pick a book by Charles Dickens. And that is because I'm listening to Our Mutual Friend at the moment, and I just think the way Dickens uses language, the way he uses prose, is just totally different to any other author that I have read. So I'm going to go with Great Expectations, which I read this year. I just think Dickens's prose stands out to me as different from everybody else's, and his prose is so rich and deep at times and so descriptive. So yeah, I'm going to recommend Great Expectations for this. I know it might not be everybody's choice as a comforting book, and certainly it does have its scary moments, but it's a great read. Prompt number 4 is Candlelight, a book that keeps you going or encourages you when things feel dark. Now, I could have picked this book for a different prompt later, but I'm going to choose it for this one, and that is The Secret Garden. This book is truly probably my top comfort read. It's just a beautiful, beautiful book that absolutely lights up the darkness. It tells the story of Mary, who is orphaned and sent to live with an uncle who isn't interested. At the beginning of the book, Mary is a highly spoilt and horrible child. Yeah, everything changes for Mary when she finds a secret garden that has been neglected for years. And this is just such a great story of the power of friendship and love, and just, yeah, it's absolutely magic. So highly, highly recommend this as a very comforting read. Probably could have picked this for most of the prompts, to be honest. Prompt number 5 is Laugh Medicine, a book that makes you laugh out loud or grin widely, coming to the rescue on the gloomiest of days. There was only one series of books that I could pick for this, and that is the Georgia Nicholson series. So I've spoken about these books before. The series starts off with Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging, which is definitely one of the best. However, my actual top favourite is the sequel, It's Okay, I'm Wearing Really Big Knickers. These books are just so funny, and I laugh out loud every time I read them, even on a reread. And these are told in a diary format, and there are just some moments in Georgia's school days, the pranks that they play on teachers and things, that just have me in hysterics. So I would recommend these to anybody who needs a good laugh, even if you are a bit old for these teenage books. Prompt number 6 is In Bed All Day. You've got your warm drink and a cosy blanket. What do you read when you're curled up in bed all day, or for a couple of hours? I'm not going to choose a specific book for this, but it has to be, and I have to mention her every time, Agatha Christie. You may think that Agatha Christie isn't particularly cosy, but when I'm curled up in bed, I want nothing more than a juicy mystery to sink my teeth into. 7 is Endless Comfort, a book that brings you solace no matter how many times you read it. And I have had to go for the Harry Potter series here. I've read the Harry Potter series a lot of times, and sometimes I just need to reread this series for comfort. I embarked on a big reread of them when I was having a bit of a rough patch and feeling sad, and they didn't let me down. And again, I felt that I needed to turn to them again in the start of the pandemic, and I downloaded them as audiobooks read by Stephen Fry on Audible, and on that occasion I listened to them all back to back, and they just got me through those early days of lockdown, just really, really comforted me. I would say that my favourites to reread would have to be, it's really hard to pick favourites, but I love The Prisoner of Azkaban, and what I've always said is my favourite is The Goblet of Fire. So those are just very comforting books to me. Prompt number 8 is Portable Hope, a book that restores your faith in humanity, faith in life, faith in yourself. A book that says it's going to be okay. The world is full of good things, and tomorrow will be better. So the book I'm going to show you was actually my first pick for this, but when I was getting books off the shelf, I nearly went for The Secret Garden for this one, but we've already mentioned that in Candlelight, so we will stick with my first thought, which was actually a book I read this year, but I think it's very, very comforting, a very lovely book, and that is Anne of Green Gables. Anne of Green Gables herself, Anne Shirley, just brings so much positivity to the table, and the first thing I thought of when I read the prompt, the world is full of good things and tomorrow will be better, it just made me think of Anne Shirley, who couldn't manage to stay sad even when she felt heartbroken at the beginning of this book. And although she can be a little bit irritating at times, I think this is just a wonderful book, and I highly recommend it as a source of hope. Question number 9 is a basket for your neighbour. Just as it's lovely to be comforted by books, it can be lovely to pass the comfort along. Imagining you were putting together a cosy comfort basket for your neighbour, friend or loved one, which books would you include? So, as I've said, I really do like quite a lot of very dark books, and I don't think many people would be hugely comforted by those, so I've deliberately not picked my usual sort of books. But if it was a person who I knew would enjoy it, I would pick something I've already mentioned, such as the Sherlock Holmes series, some Agatha Christie. But if it's a person who I think will not necessarily appreciate any form of crime, I'm going to go with some gentler books. I would always think it would be worth including a Georgia Nicholson book to make them laugh, and I would always think it would be worth including The Secret Garden, because it's just lovely. But the other 3 choices that I've made are these. So this one, you will say that is not your type of book at all, Alice, and you would be right, but I loved this book. So this is The Little Shop of Happily Ever After by Jenny Colgan, and this book means a lot to me because it was given to me by a friend and work colleague, and she said to me one day, I've read a book and the main character reminds me so much of you. This is a book about you, Alice. So how could I resist this book? She actually went out and bought this for me as a gift, and this book really, really means a lot to me. So thank you, Ali, for buying me this book. It's meant a huge amount to me, and I would pass on the joy of this book in a cosy comfort basket. The reason I love this book so much is because this is a book about somebody who starts their own bookshop in a van and drives it around recommending books to people. She's a former librarian and loses her job, but stocks up a van with books and goes off up to Scotland for a new adventure and to sell them. Yes, it's not my usual type of reading. I could see where my friend was going with this being a book that could be about me, because it has long been a dream of mine to drive the library van or to start my own bookshop. So this was right up my street, and it's a very comforting read that I would definitely pass on to other people. My second choice for my cosy comfort basket is 26A by Diana Evans. I've spoken about this book before, and it's a story about twins, Georgia and Bessie, who live in a loft in their house, and it's a really touching story. It might not cheer people up because it might make them too sad, but it's a really lovely book and I would recommend it to anyone. The final book that I would put in my cosy comfort basket is another one to make people laugh, and that is Molesworth by Jeffrey Williams and Ronald Searle. And this is sort of old school laughs, and Molesworth narrates the story of his time at St Custard's School, and this is a very funny book that I think would cheer people up a lot. So yeah, I highly recommend Molesworth if you want to laugh and you like reading about school days in the past. Right, we're on to the final prompt, and the final prompt is a walk in the woods. Though we'd love to stay curled up indoors with our books forever, we've got to venture into the world again sometime. A walk in the woods always helps me feel refreshed. Tell us a book with beautiful nature writing or a book that restores your peace. Now, my first thought, of course, was the book with the same name as this title, A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. This is my top favourite of Bill Bryson's books, and it is really, really funny and very comforting. So I enjoyed reading that. But another of my favourites that I did have to hand is 21st Century Yokel by Tom Cox. I've spoken about Tom Cox several times on the channel, and I just love the way he writes about nature, both in 21st Century Yokel and in the sequel, Ring the Hill. And his nature writing is not like any other nature writing I've read. And if you like to read books about completely random topics such as hills, animals, cats, and walks in different parts of the country that he has lived, beautiful scenery. These are basically collections of essays about different things in his life, and there's a lot of nature writing in these, and I would highly recommend them, especially this one. That brings us to the end of the comfort reading tag, and I was tagged in this such a long time ago that I can't actually remember who's done it and who hasn't, but I'd like to tag Emily at Novelle Novels, whose channel I really enjoy. I'm also going to tag Sandy at Ms Reads a Lot, and Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, because I've been really enjoying buddy reading with both of them this month. I'm going to tag Gemma at Gem of Books, and I'm going to tag Shelley Swearingen. If any of you have not already done this tag and would like to do it, I would love to hear some of your comforting picks. And if there's any channels in there that you haven't checked out yet, I will link all of them in the description box down below, and they all have great channels to watch if you love books. So all that remains is me to say thanks for watching this tag, and I hope you will give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and perhaps subscribe if you haven't already. Harry and I are going to go and do some cosy, comforting reading, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon for another video all about books here on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.